The Three Little Pigs. Once upon a time, there was an old mother pig who had three little pigs that she loved very much. When they grew up and were old enough, she sent them out into the world to seek their fortunes and live adventurous lives. The first little pig was very lazy. He didn't want to work at all. When he thought about what he wanted to build his house out of, he decided to build his house out of straw. The second little pig worked a little harder, but he was still a little lazy too, and he decided to build his house out of sticks. Then, since they were finished early, they sang and danced and played together for the rest of the day. The third little pig worked hard all day, building his house with bricks. It was a sturdy house, complete with a fine fireplace and chimney. It looked like it could withstand the strongest winds. The little pig was very proud. The next day, a wolf happened to pass by the lane where the three little pigs lived, and he saw the straw house, and he smelt the little pig inside. He thought the pig would make a mighty fine meal, and his mouth began to water just at the thought. So he knocked on the door and said, little pig, let me in, let me in." But the little pig saw the wolf's big paws through the keyhole. So he answered back, "No, no, no, not by the hairs on my chinny chin chin." Then the wolf showed his teeth and said, "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down." The little pig laughed inside, and when the wolf heard this, he huffed and he puffed and he blew the house down. The wolf opened his jaws very wide and bit down as hard as he could. But the first little pig escaped and ran away to hide with the second little pig. The wolf continued down the lane, and he passed by the second house made of sticks, and he saw the house, and he smelled the two pigs inside, and his mouth began to water as he thought about the fine dinner the two of them would make. So he knocked on the door and said, little pigs, let me in, let me in." But the little pig saw the wolf's pointy ears through the keyhole. So they answered back, "No, no, no, not by the hairs on our chinny chin chin." So the wolf showed his teeth and said, "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down." The two little pigs began to laugh inside the house, not taking him seriously. When the wolf heard this, he huffed and he puffed and he blew the house down. The wolf was greedy and thought he could catch both pigs at once, but he was too greedy and got neither. His big jaws clamped down on nothing but air, and the two little pigs scrambled away as fast as their little hooves would carry them. The wolf chased them down the lane, and he almost caught them. But they made it to the brick house and slammed the door closed before the wolf would catch them. The 3 little pigs were very frightened. They knew the wolf wanted to eat them, and they knew he had blown down 2 of their houses, and that was very, very true. The wolf was so hungry as he hadn't eaten all day, and he had worked up such a large appetite, chasing the pigs around and around. And now he could smell all 3 of them inside, and he knew that the 3 little pigs would make a lovely feast. So the wolf knocked on the door and said, little pigs, let me in, let me in." But the little pigs saw the wolf's narrow eyes through the keyhole, so they answered back, "No, no, no. Not by the hairs on our chinny chin chins." So the wolf showed his teeth and said, "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down." Well, he huffed and he puffed. He puffed and he huffed. And he huffed, and he puffed. But he could not blow the house down. At last, he was so out of breath that he couldn't huff and he couldn't puff anymore. So he stopped to rest and thought a bit. But this was too much. The wolf danced about with rage and swore he would come down the chimney and eat up the little pigs for his supper. But while he was climbing onto the roof, the little pigs made up a blazing fire and put on a big pot full of water to boil. Then, just as the wolf was coming down the chimney, the little piggy pulled off the lid. "Ouch!" cried the wolf. His nose burned from the steam, and he went back up the chimney and ran far into the forest. The little pigs rejoiced and celebrated. They had a big delicious dinner and danced and played outside for the rest of the day.